Basketball season has officially arrived. The Duke Blue Devils have opened up practice, and the expectations, as always, sky high for the Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man, to Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. And on today's show, I want to talk about the start of Duke basketball season. Practice begins this week. Yesterday was the first official day of practice, and we're so fired up for the season here with the Duke Blue Devils. Our guy, Conor O'Neill from Devils Illustrated, back with us once again to break it all down. And at the end of the program, of course, we got to talk about this Duke football team. Undefeated at ACC play. Really big win for them on Saturday over NC State. So all that and more coming up on today's show. If you have not done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcast. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Go ahead and make sure that you watch us each and every day on YouTube as well. Like our videos, share them with your friends, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got a lot of new and exclusive YouTube content that we're putting out there and want you to be a part of the everyday community with us here at Locked On Blue Devils. You can follow us on X at LO_Blue Devils. And I'm there as well at _JJ_Jackson_. So without further ado, he is here, Conor O'Neill, back with us once again to talk about the start of a Duke basketball season. Practice has arrived. There are so many indicators within the calendar itself, Conor, of the season being right around the corner. And I would say your first official practice is one of those key things that let you know, all right, here it is. We're getting closer.
Yeah, my unofficial ticker or calendar in my head is as soon as I feel like I'm in a rhythm for football season and in a good cadence with football coverage is when it gets complicated and basketball season starts. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we've reached that point. Now we're going with the best of both worlds here. Okay, so Duke basketball opening up practice this week. It's a team that we've been able to talk about a whole lot this offseason. It's a team that when they take the practice floor, I think what stands out about this squad compared to their peers in college basketball is that there are not many of them that did not have any players scholarship-wise enter the transfer portal. You're a Final Four team that's got a big core coming back and then talented freshmen surrounding them.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun part is Duke didn't. I had last year on my message board on Devils Illustrated, I had a tracker going to keep track of Jeremy Roach and TJ Power, Jalen Blakes, all those guys to kind of track how their seasons were going. There's no need for that now. I'm not going to have I love Stanley Borden, but I'm not going to have a single thread dedicated to how Stanley plays at UTSA this year.
Right.
And then the only transfer on Duke's roster is Malik Brown. And I'm in the camp that we stop talking about transfers when they're returning players for a second year or third year, whatever they at the school. You're only a transfer 1 year. Malik is a returning player for this team. So everybody should be familiar with each other. Everybody has gotten to know everybody. The returning players have known the Boozers for a while because they played AAU against them. They've kind of been on the circuit with them. So everybody should be getting along right now.
It's going to be interesting to hear from Coach Scheyer a little bit later in the week and the rest of the coaching staff, players as well, as they open up practice. And you want to know kind of what the vibe of this team is. Who are the leaders that you find out early on in the season? And one would think that it's the guys that are returning. Every now and again, you've got these freshmen who are very outspoken and super talented as well. But the fact that Duke has so much experience coming back, I think, when you start practice here, it's going to be those returning players that they all look to leadership-wise.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Caleb Foster, who's been in a bunch of big games the last 2 years for Duke. Malik Brown has seen a lot. Malik Brown does not strike me as a guy that says a lot. everything about Malik and his kind of mannerisms say he is a lead by example type of guy. And he's also, there's value in those types that when they do speak, if he sees somebody doing something wrong and he tells them, it's going to carry a little more weight. We know Isaiah Evans likes to talk. We'll see how that comes to fruition as a sophomore and in a bigger role than kind of flamethrower off the bench. And when he's hot, he goes for 15 to 18 points. When he's not, he might play 5 minutes. He's going to need to be a little more consistent, both in his play on the court and in his leadership role. So yeah, those types of players. I mean, Darren Harris didn't have much of a role last year. He's going to have a bigger role. So with a bigger role comes bigger responsibility and kind of meshing together with all your teammates.
Yeah, the personalities are always so interesting, and obviously it's what makes the great coaches great is you're able to kind of mesh them together and bring out the best of everyone. I think about Isaiah Evans, and you're right, watching him last season, he was so vocal. Oftentimes, it's when he's making a lot of shots and when he's in a good rhythm, which you love to see. That fires me up. I can't imagine that it doesn't fire up his teammates. And some of the reactions we saw last season would show you that it does indeed get them excited and going and whatnot. Now I think it's more so, okay, you are the leader. Even when times aren't going so great for you, we still need to hear that voice. And as much as it's good for his game to talk to himself, and I think that's a lot of what it was when he was knocking down the shots, is firing himself up a little bit more. It's like, all right, now do that for the rest of your teammates and make sure it's constant.
Yeah, those big claps, they're
big clapper. Yeah,
I mean, he might tell you differently, but to me, it's always seemed like that is not so much taunting an opponent as it's firing himself up.
Right.
That's what that always is to me. And so, if he's doing those for teammates, if Caleb Foster, Caden Boozer, somebody gets hot, Pat Gongba has a big dunk, something like that, then it'd be fun to see the big claps for somebody else. That'd be kind of interesting.
So I look at this basketball program under John Scheyer the last 3 years, and throughout the course of the season, we've seen improvements made from these teams, both offensively and defensively. Scheyer has always been able to put together a really solid defensive game plan and unit and whatnot. And I just think about, first practices here. I would imagine there's probably a big emphasis on defense. I don't know that we're going as crazy as some of those iconic sports movies you'd watch growing up where we don't even have a basketball in the gym. We're just doing defensive slides to get the tone set and whatnot. But I would like to figure that defense is a big message this week.
Yeah, they put out a minute-long clip from some I don't even know if it was 5-on-5, but it was playing against each other in certain situations. And there was a ball.
You saw a basketball.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Breaking news. There's a basketball. Yep.
The orange spherical object that was actually going up to the basket and going through the net and that kind of thing. So, but you're right. I mean, it as small of a sample size as it's been, 3 seasons with John, I think you could say for all 3 seasons, Duke's defense started ahead of its offense. Even the team 2 years ago, that team that could light up shooting wise, but was a little inconsistent on the defensive end. I tend to think they still started well on the defensive end, and some of that had to do with their offense wasn't caught up because Jared McCain wasn't Jared McCain until about mid-December.
Right.
But that team, yeah, I mean, yeah. And it's kind of, sometimes I think we read too much into a coach's what he's telling us. John has, I think, been as honest as possible in telling us he wants to build his program with defense and shooting. Like those are the core tenets of what John wants Duke to do, at least, in between the 94 feet. He wants them to play hard as hell on defense, and he wants them to be able to shoot and space the floor. And you can get into, he wants them to compete. He wants, his maybe 9th or 10th guys to always be pissed off because they're not playing more and they don't have bigger roles.
Right.
You can get on and on into it, but
the versatility, the size, the the length of the team and whatnot. But you're right, the 2 things there, shooting and defense.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the one thing I think you can bank on with John as Duke's coach until proven otherwise, until we get into the season. And if they play a month or 2 and they're giving up 90 points to everybody, then we can circle back on this thing. But Yeah, right now, I think it's going to be a team that starts well on the defensive end of the court.
Everybody watching this right now is saying, don't prove us otherwise. Let's keep playing great defense, keep knocking down shots from the outside, keep it going from there. All right, so we talk about kind of the makeup of this team. A lot of returning guys, the freshmen, just as talented. College basketball is going to get to talk about the Boozer twins a whole lot this year. Let's do that as well here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home. Whether it's the local sports bar packed on game days, the coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or that corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I can think about going for coffee runs throughout my week when I walk into friendly places in the community. I happen to notice they're all using Square at checkout, a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedoncollege to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Our show today here is also brought to you by Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel more like a battle than the game itself. Endless waiting queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. Not fun. That's why I use Game Time to have fun. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. You can take a look at all the amazing zone deals. Again, a seat view within the app so you know the exact thing you're walking into before buying. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, welcome back into Locked On Blue Devils. Conor O'Neill's here with us from Devils Illustrated. We talked about the returning guys. Now we got to focus on the freshmen. And last year, we were already talking about Cooper Flagg a whole lot because of what he had done over the summer with Team USA as they were preparing for the Olympics and just how big of a recruit he was coming in. And not to take away from the magnitude of somebody like Cameron Boozer, the coverage just wasn't there. Now you've got Cameron Boozer coming in to kind of steal the show for the Duke basketball team this season.
Yeah, gosh, I wish I could remember which of my buddies on the beat told it to me this way. It's almost like if you reversed Marvin Bagley and Zion Williamson. If Zion came first and then Bagley came. That's a little bit what it felt like.
I like that thought. Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Good spot. Yeah.
I'm kicking myself for not being able to credit the proper person on that. But yeah, just it feels like Cam Boozer is going to be a phenomenal freshman in college basketball. He has the unenviable task of following one of the best freshmen we've seen, and a kid that was in his recruiting year until like fall of their junior season, which turned into Cooper's senior season. So, look, I think Cam Boozer is. I think to keep it on the comp lines, I think he's comparable to Paolo Banchero. Just the power that he brings at the 4 position. I don't know how much 5 position he'll play, especially in a perfect world. I don't know if he plays any 5 position because Malik Brown and Pat Gongba are so good that if those two are playing the 5, you don't need Cam Boozer to also play the 5.
Sure.
But yeah, I think he's going to be a force. I think he's going to be I think we're going to talk about the way he rebounds the same way that we talked about how many different ways Cooper affected the game. And that's going to be an elite skill.
No, absolutely. Just finding ways to impact winning is what you're looking for. And when you've got expectations coming in and you surround yourself with talent, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to live up with those. You think about the winning that Cameron and Caden have done throughout their life. Now they're joining a program like Duke, who's fresh off a Final Four. It seems as though they're set up for a big season this upcoming year. Caden Boozer is someone that I'm really excited to figure out exactly what his role looks like. And I think we truly aren't going to get a true feel for it until these games start to play and you kind of figure out the rhythm this team can get in, how well Caleb Foster's playing, where you can fit in Caden Boozer, and the lineup combinations you could go from there.
Yeah, that's really I think the biggest lineup question for me right now. I mean, I had a debate with Jordan a couple months ago about whether Pat Gongba or Malik Brown would be the starting 5 on this team. I don't think that matters because I think they're going to split it kind of 50-50 down the middle with minutes.
I've been having that debate all the time, man. It's a fair one.
I mean, I think it's going to wind up being a wash.
Sure.
Maybe Malik plays some 4 if Cam Boozer's out with Pat at the 5. But I think to move forward, I think the biggest debate with this roster is what happens at the lead guard position. I'm trying to stray away from calling it a point guard position because I do kind of agree with Rick Pitino, and I guess I need to have some self-introspection on that. But I do think the point guard position is a little bit overrated. I think as long as you have enough collective ball handling on the court, and we talked about this last year with Duke's starting lineup, that team didn't have a quote unquote point guard, but they had enough collective ball handling and enough initiators that anybody could be the point guard other than Kamen Malawach in the starting lineup. So that's what I want to see shake out. I want to see if Caleb Foster takes the next step and becomes more consistent and is the same player that he was at the end of last season when he played really desperate and had an edge to his game. I want to see how Caden Boozer translates. There's a lot of debate, and I don't know how much of it is academic at this point because we need to see games to make this decision. But I want to see if Caden Boozer projects as a multi-year guy and is not able to help Duke as much this year as he's going to be able to help Duke next year or as a junior even. So we have to figure those things out. I would stress patience in figuring them out. I don't know. We're going to get a 30-minute viewing period of their practice on Wednesday afternoon. I don't think anybody's going to come away with that with the answers at what Duke does at guard.
Right.
But that'll be our first glimpse of it, and then we'll have countdown, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how Caden fits into this thing and how good of a basketball player he's going to be right out of the gates for this Duke team. What I've known over the past couple of years is that improvement will take place throughout the course of the year. Just what does it look like early on? Look, you mentioned Jared McCain a little bit earlier in the program. Well, it took a little bit for him to get in a rhythm to the college game and surrounding himself with teammates and whatnot. I think what we're hearing right now, it might be similar for somebody like Dame Sarr, who initially you get super excited about this international guy who's got professional playing experience, but he's so young. It felt like he was still kind of growing and adjusting to the college game. Might take him a little bit.
Yeah, that look we got in August, the open practices that we talked about. I mean, he looked like a stick figure. I don't mean that as I don't know how much he could improve on his physique,
right.
And that makes you a little hesitant because college basketball is getting younger as the guys with COVID years kind of phase out, but they're not completely gone. So you're still going to be matched up. If you're a wing, you're still going to be matched up against some guys that are 22, 23, 24 years old. And they can push around 18-year-olds, especially 18-year-olds that aren't built out and filled out in the way that Dame Sarr is going to be in a couple years. So we'll have to see that one. That's another one to kind of keep an eye on. Again, I hate to keep going to that August scrimmage that we saw because that really it's going to hold no bearing once the games start. But that first impression that did not have the most ringing endorsement of Dame Sarr being, a dominant player or even a go-to player for this team.
Yeah, early looks don't always translate into what you see
Right.
throughout the season. Sometimes they do, but not always. Here's a recent example. Let's go back to last year's Arizona State exhibition, Connor. When Con Knippel drove baseline and absolutely put that dude on a poster, I thought, oh my goodness. And I'm sure I wasn't the only one. This guy's going to be levitating throughout the course of the whole season. And then he finishes with like only 3 or 4 more dunks the rest of the year.
I do remember that. We brought that up often on Press Row.
Yeah.
Like, Con dunked against Arizona. He was
super athletic play, man.
Always the type of player that would take the easy 2 points, or he'd just stop before he got to the lane and hit a 8-footer.
Right. So hopefully we'll be saying, remember when Dame Sarr just didn't look like a college basketball, and he's super, super good down the road. I think I'm leaning towards that happening. A lot of hype in what he'll be able to do for the squad. All right. Football-wise, Duke picks up a really big win over the weekend against NC State. First ACC win for Manny Diaz here in 2025. Let's break it down here in a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. They deliver confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. From footwork to breath work, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings that same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move or be moved, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Conor O'Neill's here with us from Devils Illustrated. We're talking about Duke football now. Big win over NC State this past weekend. It was 20-7 at one point, Wolfpack. And I think a lot of people might have thought, are we heading to a 1-3 start for Duke football?
Yeah, you would not be alone in thinking that. If JJ, if you had that thought, I could have had that thought in the press box as well. No, I've tried to kind of explain it this way. Until proven otherwise. We've got 17 games of examples under Manny Diaz and this staff. I just kind of think they play these high volatility games where they're going to make some mistakes. They're going to do some things that drive you crazy and make you question whether they're ever going to win another game this season. But more often than not, they're 11-6 with this staff. They make game-winning plays, and they do more of the good things than they've done bad things, or their good things outweigh their bad things, and they wind up with wins. And that's kind of where I land on this. Like, they gave up. I don't know if I've ever seen a team give up a 95-yard and a 99-yard drive in the same game. Those drives took about 16 or 17 minutes off the game clock. They should drain your defense. And yet, Duke's defense finished the game strong. They forced a turnover. They gave up the late touchdown, but then they rely on an offense to have a 66-yard touchdown run spring free and go back up 2 scores. So I understand if you want Duke to come out and win an ACC game 35-10 and completely dominate all 3 phases, I understand wanting that to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the path. I think the path is do some things well, do some things not well, and do more of the former than the latter, and it'll work itself out in the end.
Yeah, and the quarterback is working out right now for Duke, because Darian Mensah continues to put together great game after great game. And, I look, and this was the first game in which he didn't throw for 300 passing yards, but he took care of the football. He threw 3 touchdowns. And you think about it, I made this point on yesterday's show. Go back to the Illinois game. Duke was -5 in the turnover department. They were +4 this time around against NC State. And Darian Mensah isn't going to run back, take a couple of losses to add those yardage back to his total, right? Like, great field position limited the yardage that you're able to work with.
Yeah, that was one of the main points from Manny in the Monday presser was you can you can hyperventilate about being outgained by 100 and some yards against NC State, but Duke's special teams, they made good special teams plays in this game. Also, when you have a 67-yard interception return that sets up a 12-yard TD drive, that's quote marks for those just listening, you're going to lose the yardage battle. And that's fine because you won on the scoreboard. The biggest thing for Darian is, I think this is another game. According to PFF, he had 2 big-time throws and no turnover-worthy plays. So I think the rough estimate, scoring those throughout the first 4 games of the year, I think he's had somewhere around 10 or 12 big-time throws and maybe 2 or 3 turnover-worthy plays. It hasn't been many. I think he had none against Elon. I think he had none. I know he had none against State, and maybe 2 against Illinois and 1 against Tulane. And he's been very ball secure, and that's a really important thing for Duke.
So if we look at the Blue Devils, now they've got Syracuse and Cal back-to-back weeks on the road, more ACC games here. Tough tests to travel anywhere and put your football team together. Syracuse obviously has the season-ending injury to their quarterback, so they're kind of uncertainty there, although they're coming off a big win at Clemson, which Syracuse football doesn't always do things like that. So that's a game and a 2-week stretch here that I'm excited to see how it plays out for Duke.
Yeah, that's kind of what I wrote on Saturday was 2 non-conference losses in September did not end this team's season. They did not poke holes in all their goals that they had set coming into the year. In the same vein, one mid-September win against a rival does not make the entire season. It doesn't set everything back on track. It just is a step in the right direction after a couple steps backward. And so they're playing a really good Syracuse team this year. I'm impressed with Fran Brown is able to reload. I thought they would take a step backward this year from where they were last year because they lost so much.
Right.
But they're establishing themselves as one of the top level teams of the ACC. So this is going to be a big time matchup. The Dome is a weird place to play. I've seen weird things happen up there, both remotely and in 2 trips there with Wake Forest games. So it's going to be another pretty tough test for this team.
And we'll see how it all plays out this weekend. And then again, a road game at Cal. I'm excited. 2-2, 1-0 in the ACC for Duke football. And certainly when you got the quarterback figured out, you feel like you're in most football games. So we'll see how that carries over for Duke. Connor, tell us about Devils Illustrated, man, and how people can support you.
Yeah, Devils Illustrated is on the On3 network. The website address is kind of long and convoluted, but if you just type in Duke On3 in the search bar of anything, or just go duke.rivals.com for the address, it'll take you to where you need to be. Hop in there. I've got coverage coming all week on football and basketball. It's good stuff. I hope people check it out.
We appreciate the time as always, man. We'll talk again soon, okay?
My pleasure. Thanks,
All
JJ.
right, that's Conor O'Neill joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always enjoy when he stops by. And yeah, make sure you go check out the work he's doing there at Devils Illustrated. That'll do it for our show here today. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.